remember the day I quit, I called my twin because like if you watch my story, they tried to add a 31st kid to a class that was already full. I had 2 students in there that were autistic, 1 student in there that was like severely autistic. I had a lot of kids that had different behavior problems. I had kids that had come back from the alternative school. I had a lot of SPED kids. There were a lot of behaviors in that class, and that was the class that I took to lunch. And so I didn't realize that like the class was stressing me out to the point where I was like physically, I didn't know I was getting sick until I was like being put into, the back of the ER, into the back of the ambulance. And it's like, the day that I quit, I remember standing there crying, and it was the last period of the day. And I remember I just felt so disrespected. I felt like they didn't value me. They didn't care that I was getting sick. They didn't care about my health. It was like they was running around putting out so many fires all the time that they didn't have time to help, help with classroom behaviors or help with stuff like that. And I remember my older sister is a nurse, and she was like, yo, your body is trying to tell you, like, as much as you want to stay and you love being a teacher, bro, your body is trying to tell you, you cannot do this.
Right.
And I will never forget, because a lot of teachers can't quit, and there's a lot of people out there that'll say, why teachers always complaining all the time, if you don't like it, just quit. There's a lot of people, they can't just quit.
People have families. People have health obligations.
Right. And
I need insurance.
I remember the teacher that stood there with me. I will never, ever forget this. I remember the teacher that stood there with me, because I also struggle with mental health stuff. Like, I take medicine. I try to, I manage my stuff as best I can, but some situations are too stressful and they trigger you, right?
Yeah.
And so just like the kids get triggered, us as adults, when we struggle with mental illness, we get triggered. It takes a minute for us to come down off of that. And so I remember at the end of the day, I was just crying, and I will never forget that teacher standing there, and she talked to me the whole time, and she didn't have to stand there, you know what I'm saying, but she knew I was at a point. She knew I was at a breaking point, because I had already dealt with so much in the 3.5 months that I had been back. And I remember when I put them keys on my desk, I ain't take none of my stuff with me. I was like, I gotta get, this is a terrible environment, like I have to get out of here. And I remember I put my keys on my desk, I got in my car, and I drove away. And I felt bad, because I felt like I was leaving that teacher behind, because that's the kind of environment that we put in, that when we get ready to leave, or when we're able to step away, the teachers who can't leave, you know what I'm saying, you feel like you are leaving them behind. Now, that teacher, I did find out, like, a month after I quit, she was able to step away, but I just... the struggle and the PTSD, teaching has caused a lot of these teacher mental health problems and PTSD.
And I hate to, and I'm getting teary-eyed talking about this, but it's hard.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
Man,
I don't like to talk about it, because it makes me feel like I'm complaining about my job, or it makes me feel like I'm over-exaggerating what I've experienced, but
not.
In all reality, it was a trauma to me.
Right.
As much as our students go through trauma, the teachers that deal with that kind of stuff, it's just as much a trauma for them, and it's really mentally taxing.